Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining another episode of PM Perceptions with Michelle and MJ. Tonight, we're covering episode 2, and this episode is going to be focusing on hiring project managers. I'm Michelle Beatty. I am the host of Curating Podcast and the founder of Skills Recharge and Keep Your Stride. And welcome, Ajuba, MJ. Her new her name that she's going now by professionally is MJ. So MJ, tell everyone about yourself.
Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that we're doing another live together, really bringing some solid information. But yes, my name's MJ. I'm the CEO of 3T Institute. 3T Institute is a vocational school in Northern Virginia. We were established in 2019 as a project management and technical school. And we have, to this date, probably have helped over 2,000 students obtain technical and project management certifications. So we're very proud of that.
That is awesome. So by you helping such a large group of professionals, you can definitely give some insight on hiring, right? So what does that look like, and boost some confidence and clear some cobwebs. So let's just start off with, what are some misconceptions recruiters have about project managers' knowledge and abilities?
Yeah, great question. And I did want to touch on what you said in terms of my experience and what really makes me the expert in providing the knowledge or advice that I am today with you. Part of it is that I have been a project manager for 17 years myself. So I have gone through many project management interviews. And I've always also have had the ability to hire project managers and project team members. So part of that experience really allows me, or has allowed me, to understand what does it really take to be part of a project. How should recruiters or organizations be looking for candidates, the types of skills and knowledge that they have, so that they can bring on the right team members onto a project, because ultimately the right team makes or breaks a project. So to answer your question in terms of what's the biggest misconception that recruiters have when it comes to hiring project managers, I believe that the biggest misconception is that a lot of recruiters, when hiring project managers for a particular industry, assume that that project manager should have or be a subject matter expert in the industry that they're being hired for. And I think that is a misconception, in the sense that when an entire team is selected on a project, you really have levels of experience and knowledge. The key hiring background or skills that a PM should have is their ability to communicate, their ability to be very task-driven, ability to connect the mission and vision of the organization back to the project, vice versa. And for a PM to be able to lean on their subject matter experts who should be available within the organization and hired on a project to help solve those very deep technical issues or questions that come up. So I think recruiters need to kind of step back and say, do we really need this PM to understand the ins and outs of the industry that we're hiring them for?
And what is a way a project manager can tactfully overcome that when they're communicating with recruiters throughout an interview process? How can they overcome that if they are coming from a completely different industry tactfully?
Yeah, great question. So part of it is that if a project manager is applying for a project management position, then essentially the standards, the processes, the documents, the plans are the same. And that's where they need to begin from, to really say, okay, what's the commonality here? Then they need to go back and say, what are some of the same similar tools that this industry uses versus the industry or the industry that they've come from versus the one that they're being interviewed for. So finding commonality essentially between the two industries is going to help them show that they are an expert and that they're knowledgeable. Now, when it comes to answering specific questions, for example, there might be a question about standards. Maybe if they're going into an engineering industry, they might be asked about standards like ISO standards or CMMI standards. Now, if you are from a, say, healthcare background, you come from more of different types of standards, healthcare standards. So if a question like that raises, the project manager needs to say, well, I don't understand XYZ, or I am familiar with CMMI and ISO. However, I don't know it in depth, but I do understand standards. Standards mean X, Y, and Z. So just going really back to the definition of why something is done, a standard, we don't always have to be experts in a particular subject, but I think someone who is going for a project management position has enough industry standard knowledge for them to speak on certain things in a way where they can show that they have the ability to learn, and once they're hired, can quickly pick up that knowledge.
For sure. It comes down to being able to ask the right questions.
Yes.
For sure. Now, Majuba, can you share with us a little bit about how hiring managers should be mindful of when it comes to assessing the skills, specifically the transferable skills of the PM, the project managers, or the project roles that they are hiring for?
Yeah. I think when it comes to hiring a project manager, there should be three things that every hiring manager should be looking for. One, the technical skills that they have, just standard computer skills. Are they able to quickly learn MS Project? Are they able to quickly learn Sheets or Asana? Whatever it may be, it's all about the ability to not get intimidated by the tools. Technical knowledge there, but also technical knowledge possibly. So say if it is software development, understanding what the software development lifecycle is, or knowing that in a particular IT industry, they use Agile. What is that, right? And so as long as they have that industry knowledge, the technical knowledge that comes with it, then, second tier, I would say, would be soft skills. What are the soft skills that this PM brings in? Communication, leadership, ability to connect with stakeholders, ability to really understand who the key players are that will help the project move forward. The ability to, no matter what, whenever this PM comes into the project, whether the start, middle, or towards the end, what is it that they're supposed to do from the point that they're being brought on? So just someone who's a quick learner, can quickly make the team their own, can adjust to a culture and environment, and someone who can then pick up all those technical skills. So, and also I talk a lot about mindset, right? And so a project manager who won't allow, I think that fear and is part of just human nature, is part of who we are, but it's just how we take fear to empower ourselves. So someone with a strong personality who, if under pressure, they're able to really take a deep breath and look at things from an objective perspective, can have methods of just managing a stressful environment. So really those kinds of questions that really understands the personality of the PM is what's going to help the hiring manager bring on the right person.
For sure. That's great insight. And I think it is helpful when you don't let fear get the best of you. When you're interviewing, when you're new in a role, or when you're learning something new, I think I'm happy that you did touch upon mindset and overcoming that, because I think that is the crux of a lot of things that some may encounter, and empowering them with the right verbiage to be able to communicate their skill set. So with that being said, what are a few core components that baseline that project management hiring managers, or specifically recruiters that are working on behalf of the hiring manager, what should they understand about project management beyond the job description to be able to find that gem of a person, that gem candidate that they're looking for? As some might say, the unicorn.
I think from a recruiter's perspective, say that a recruiter wants to hire a project manager. I'll start with that scenario first. I think it's important for the recruiter to understand the type of organization that this project's part of. Is it a organization that's very projectized, meaning that will this project have its own team, or will the team be shared among other departments? So that's really, really important. Then the second aspect that the recruiter should be knowledgeable about is the authority of a PM. Will this PM be managing budgets? Will they be actually managing the team? Will the team directly report to the PM or the program manager? How does the management alignment work? So that's really important. And then the ability for the recruiter to also talk about the budget size of the project. How big is this budget? Has funds already been allocated? Has the project started? Is it in the middle? Or is it a troubled project that they're looking for someone to come in and fix? So really knowing what the environment of, like, what the situation is with the project will allow the recruiter to ask the right questions, because with all of those scenarios, you really need a different kind of level of experience and background for the project manager that you're hiring. A troubled project will require for someone to come in, do root cause analysis, for them to look at a lot of previous lessons learned, for them to engage with stakeholders, to understand, was requirements gathering done correctly? Were the requirements prioritized? What is the earliest value that the key stakeholders want to see? So that's, and then so an experienced PM who may have potentially dealt with the situation where they were in a tough situation, use that word twice, but if they were in a scenario where they've had to deal with a troubled project, then they would know what to do. So that's important there. And then when I spoke about a PM's authority of managing their team, a lot of times what happens is that PMs are hired under the notion of, you are a project manager, yet they have zero power. They can't do anything. They can't even tell their team what to work on because it's delegated from the organization. So there's a misconnect that happens there. And unfortunately, the PM ends up getting blamed for a project that's going wrong when really they don't have a single authority in terms of decision making with the team, with the tools they can bring on, with the processes. Or there are times where there's a miscommunication within the PMO and the project manager. There isn't a direct communication. There's someone in the middle. So you have all of these issues that later on arise when a PM is hired, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks or 3 weeks down the road, you see the PM giving their 2-week notice, and you're like, wait, what happened? I thought we made the right decision. Well, if on day one and during the interview, it's not clear and it hasn't been the information of what the health of a project is and the authority level of this PM will be, then the PM's really walking into the dark. And I would have to say maybe 80% of people don't know what to do in a situation like that, because they're like, okay, I wasn't made aware of this. And now I'm dealing with a whole nother set of problems that I didn't even think of. So recruiters should be very much aware of what's going on in the organization so they can ask the right questions and be able to answer the questions of project managers because it helps both parties. Recruiters or hiring managers want to think about it in terms of, we want to bring someone on who's going to stay, not someone who's going to leave a couple of weeks down the road.
That's very true. Very true. So I want to break down my next question into 3 components. I want you to talk about what should a project manager be able to share. How should they share their level of experience during an interview? So I want to break it down from the aspect of a newly certified project manager. And then I want to also address it from the aspect of a project manager with experience that has their PMP certification and does not have their PMP certification.
Yeah. So the first one was, should I tackle the one with someone without PM experience?
Sure. No preference, just at some point, just speak of them all.
Sure. I think I'll start with someone who doesn't have a PMP certification. I'll start with that. So if someone doesn't have a PMP certification, they're a project manager, there's actually nothing wrong with that. In my experience, I have to say, I've come across people who I have recommended the PMP to, and they've said to me, I don't really need it. My experience speaks for itself. I don't need a certification to say whether I am a project manager or not. And I've respected that. I think there comes a time in a person's career where certification is merely just a few acronyms after their names. So a person like that has already established a credibility within a network who probably backs them up and can vouch for their skills and knowledge. And most likely this person is getting jobs or job offers through referrals. And so then they would just lean on their expertise and knowledge and the delivery of value at the earliest. So that's the language that this expert individual would speak who doesn't have a PMP. In terms of value, early value is what organizations look for, and in most instances will pay the right amount of money for the individual that just comes with many years of experience and knows how to pick up a project and go with it. Then there are individuals who don't have certifications or the PMP certification, but want it. Because they feel like it can add to their knowledge, and they will learn the standards of project management based on PMI, right? The Project Management Institute that came about 30 years ago. But we know projects have been around a lot longer than that. And there are many other standards out there in the world. PMI is one standard that we see of project management. Those individuals who may have a little bit of experience and want to get their PMP and are looking to become project managers will already have some sort of experience working on projects, because you have to before you can even be a PMP, depending on your level of education. So it means that you want to lean on the types of projects you have worked on and what your role was. So say some PMs will come to me and be like, MJ, I don't think I have any project management experience. And then we go through, what do you work on? What do you do on a daily basis? What kind of reporting do you put together? And they'll tell me things like, I facilitate a meeting. I capture action items. I put those action items in an action item log. I then email everyone to see where they are with those items. And then once it's closed, I go ahead and close it. I then report it to my PM. Then we do follow-ups and create status reports. That's all part of being a project. You may not be leading a project, but you're part of a project. And I always go back to I always say, well, what would happen if your role didn't exist? Well, no one would capture the actions. We wouldn't be able to move the project forward. The tasks wouldn't get done. And I'm like, there we go. Right? So you are working on a project, and the education of project management will help them then tie all of the pieces together, make them strong interviewers, so that when they go, they almost have the conviction of, yes, I know project management, I've worked on the projects before, and now I have the lexicon or the business lingo for me to go to an interview and speak about part of the process or the process I was part of when I worked on a project, so that the interviewer then understands. And so that would be someone who's like entry level. Maybe their current title is a project analyst or a program analyst, and they want to jump into a PM position. What's going to get you to a PM position is to show those soft skills and your mindset, which means really speaking about your leadership skills, the ability to communicate, the ability to bring the team together and move them towards a vision, the ability for you to utilize your negotiation skills. So And that's really what recruiters and hiring managers look for when they want to bring someone on who hasn't been a PM, but wants to be one, an entry level one, is their leadership skills. Can they take on a project by themselves and lead it, move it forward? And then remind me of the third one.
I think you kind of covered them both in your last question, but it also made me think of in your last share, I should say. But it also made me think about someone like you touched upon that they don't realize that they're a project manager and you're connecting the dots. And I also want you to briefly touch upon someone that is interested in project management and how do they convey confidence when they're applying for roles, and how would they present themselves to a hiring manager, like from not only their key things to remember on their resume, but also what can they share with a recruiter that's authentic and credible for them to be given an opportunity to join, to be considered as a serious candidate for a role when they're new.
Yeah.
I mean, just realize that this is something that they want to do, because a lot of people stumble in to project management. Yeah. They didn't even realize it, and then they fall in love with it. I know I am that someone. And I've just been fortunate to have mentors like yourself and others that have really made it very crystal clear that I'm a project manager, and I am, and I love it. So I know there's someone else that could have had the same experience.
Yeah. Yes. And I think we all share this, and no one graduates from college and becomes a PM, right? We all have this like transition. We do one thing or another and then leads us to becoming PMs at some point in our career. But that's a great question, right? And so first, knowledge is power. So education is important. I'm not necessarily talking about getting a master's degree or a PhD, but knowledge is important to understand project management from a standards perspective. Is sometimes experience, especially for early career professionals, experience may not be enough to get you your PM position. So gain the knowledge that you need, understand the 5 process groups of a project, understand a project lifecycle, understand a product lifecycle. What's the difference between the two? So knowledge is going to help you understand and build confidence. That's how you're going to build confidence. And then there's about the aspect of being a squeaky wheel. If you're a project analyst, you need to go to your manager. How do I'm really interested in project management. What's the next step for me? They might ignore you. They might be like, nope, I don't think you're ready. Don't stop. Push, 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 push. Be the squeaky wheel. Continue to ask. Continue to say, how can I support this project? What can I do? And I'll share a personal story. When I started, I was in projects, working on projects. I was a project analyst. And I was an analyst for a long time. And then I was a program analyst. And then I saw someone being a project manager. And I'm like, that's pretty cool. I want to be a project manager. Then I saw the PMP acronym behind someone's name. And I was like, what is that? What does PMP stand for? And they're like, oh, it's the Project Management Professional Certification. Okay. I was like, I see. All right. I think I need to understand what project management is. And then I think the next step for me is to become a PM. So, I gained my knowledge, and then I went to my boss and I said, look, I've been an analyst. I'm really trying to become an assistant project manager or a junior PM. How do I do it? And they were like, I don't think so. We don't have a position for you right now. But I didn't stop, and I continued to ask and ask. And finally, they were like, okay, we're sick of Majuba asking. And they made me a junior PM. And when they did that, what ended up happening is the PM on that one project left. So I went straight into my boss's office and I said, I can take this project. And I was very nervous. I didn't know if I could make it. I didn't know the first thing about really managing a project from start to finish. And I'm being honest, right? But I believed in my knowledge. I believed in my skills, and I didn't allow fear to hold me back from my best potential. So if you're hearing my story, I'm here to tell you, you can do it. Trust yourself and you'll be able to learn and really understand. So I got my first PM position. It was a small project. I didn't manage anyone. And then the next challenge was to actually manage a couple of people. And I ended up, another PM left, and I said, ooh, that project's open. I want to go work on that project. And so then I was given a team of 8. Some subject matter experts who are probably 5 times smarter than who I was and had so much experience than me from a technical perspective. The project was going down the drain. And I came in with maybe a year of managing a project, and I took the project and it went from, it was a government contracting project. It went from a 1 QASP to, I think, a 4, or the highest, either 4 or 5 QASP. It's the highest rating. And all I really did was believe in myself, build relationships, understand the requirements for the customer, prioritize it, give them the earliest value that they needed. But in all of that, while doing the work of the project, I communicated as much as I could. If I didn't know something, I asked. If I didn't understand something, I asked for clarity. And so, I think that it's a lot of times people paint these pictures of like rainbows and unicorns and you're going to be a PM and everything's going to be great. It's not. You're continuously learning. You will continuously have fear. You will continuously doubt yourself. But the difference is going to be that you, even in all of that that's going through your mind, you will continue to move forward and learn and empower yourself and gain knowledge and have mentors around that you can go to and say, shoot, I'm supposed to create a 1,000-line project schedule. I don't even know where to start. I can tell you this right now, that everyone around you who's your mentor, a good friend, will come and help you and support you, because everyone wants you to succeed. So as long as you believe in yourself, everyone will believe in you as well.
Hands down. I'm a testament of that. From working with you and others, I have felt so supported during my journey of evolving as a proficient project manager. It's just been like the best. And you're right, I'm always learning something new, always being challenged to learn something new, and it's fun. For me, it's fun. That's why I'm such an advocate about it, because I think it just opens up so many opportunities for so many people in a way they probably never even imagined. So my megaphone is out. I'm like, come on, join the project management party. Like, it's a great opportunity. Okay, Majuba, for this episode, I have one more question for you. What hiring trends should project managers take note of for this year?
Hiring trends. Let's see. I think I've been seeing there's been a lot of questions around organizations really deciding about the methodologies that they're going to go for. We've heard a lot about agile, organizations wanting PMs to have agile knowledge or be certified as a Scrum Master. But then there are some organizations who are like, nope, we like the waterfall approach, and they actually don't really care whether you have an agile certificate or not, or at least the knowledge. What I've also seen is organizations giving individuals who want an opportunity in project management as entry-level PMs. I've seen a lot of hiring of entry-level project managers, and which is a wonderful trend. It really shows to me that organizations want to bring individuals in early, help create their knowledge, help give them the experience so that they can grow them into these amazing project managers. So if you are thinking of getting in the field of project management, this is probably the best time that you can get into the field. However, there's also a trend in being PMP certified. It's been a trend for a while, but now really every other project management position requires a certified project manager. And not just, and I know I talked about there being other standards globally for project management. However, the requirement really is a PMP, which comes from the Project Management Institute. So that's really what I have seen a lot of. I think that, what else have I seen? I think that's pretty much it. A lot of what individuals have come to me is, waterfall agile, and then hiring of entry-level PMs and PMP certified is something that is pretty much on every single job description.
Yeah. In essence, PMP is not cookie cutter. The standards and what we do as far as like studying to become PMP certified, but each one of our journeys is indeed different. And it's just good to know the different aspects of what that could be. Be PMP certified or not, new to the industry or not, what does that look like? So you can pull upon the different experiences to be able to position yourself to advance in the way that you see fit, that aligns with your career goals and your path.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important. I always, one of my advice that I give to individuals is draw on your experience, see what you've done, and really look into yourself and say, what am I good at? Like, what is it that I want to do? What's the impact that I want to make? And that's where you'll find a lot of your answers. And then also look at the industries that you're interested in. Project management exists in every single industry: healthcare, engineering, marketing, real estate, airlines. What else? I mean, cannabis. Yes. Every single industry requires a project manager. Why? Because they need this one person to come together, take all the million pieces and put into one, and help a group of individuals move forward towards meeting a goal. What is that goal going to do? It will bring the business value meaning money, reputation, goodwill, whatever it may be. So that's what a project manager does. We are the artist of the project. We show you the whole picture. We help move you towards that picture. And that's why we are so valuable out there in the market.
So true. Majuba, MJ, thank you so much for another amazing episode on hiring project managers. For episode 3, we are talking about consultants. So those that are project managers or project management centric roles, and you want to branch out as a consultant, tune in for episode 3. Thank you so much. We'll share the details soon, and have a wonderful week. And if you catch the replay, leave us comments. If you have questions about this episode or any other next episode, let us know. We'll answer them. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.